What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today. I'm your host, and today we've got some genuinely exciting Kyle Tucker news that just broke. Last night, it was reported that Kyle Tucker visited the Blue Jays' Florida complex facility. Now, I know what you're thinking. This feels like Shohei Ohtani all over again, and honestly, it kind of is. The number one free agent on the market just visited the Blue Jays facilities. So let's break down what this actually means and where the Blue Jays stand right now in the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes. Before we get into it, quick question for you. How many comments do you think we're going to get saying he's on a plane? Over, under 14.5. I'm calling the over right now because once I say it, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But seriously, this is exciting news. I don't want to go overboard and say he's signing tomorrow or that the deal is done. But the fact that he's visiting the facilities at all tells us that the Blue Jays are legitimately in this thing. Tucker is engaging with Toronto, and Toronto is clearly serious about landing him. All right, let's get into the details. The initial report came from Robert Murray, who confirmed Tucker was spotted at the Blue Jays facility. Now, all this really confirms for me is that the Blue Jays are a real contender for Tucker. All those rumors we've been hearing for weeks weren't just smoke. They're based on actual interest. The Blue Jays are coming off a World Series appearance. They're spending big money. They've got a massive budget to work with. And Kyle Tucker is the biggest free agent bat on the market. Of course, they're involved. And from Tucker's perspective, he lives in Florida. If a team that wants to pay him hundreds of millions of dollars has a facility nearby, why wouldn't he go check it out? It would be negligent not to. Ben Nicholson-Smith put out some important context on this. He said a visit does indicate the Blue Jays are genuinely involved with Tucker, but it's also relatively standard practice when recruiting a high-profile free agent. It doesn't mean Tucker is anywhere near making a decision. In fact, it would be surprising if Tucker didn't also visit other rumored suitors like the Yankees, Dodgers, or Phillies as his market develops. That's exactly right. This is standard procedure. If you're about to sign a contract for the next 10 years of your life worth hundreds of millions of dollars, you're going to want to see where you'd be working. You're going to want to tour the facilities, meet the coaching staff, get a feel for the organization. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we hear about Tucker flying to Toronto to see Rogers Center in the city itself if things get really serious. Now, let's talk money because that's what this all comes down to. The Blue Jays have already committed about $256 million this offseason. Kyle Tucker is projected to sign for somewhere around $400 million, probably $40 million per year. If the Blue Jays add Tucker, their payroll jumps to around $310 million for 2026. That puts them right up there with the Dodgers, Yankees, and Mets. That's insane. When we started this show a few years ago, we used to get comments all the time saying the Blue Jays will never spend. They never get the big free agents. They're cheap. Well, look at them now. They're second in projected payroll. They've killed that narrative completely. Let me tell you why this actually makes sense for Toronto beyond just being able to afford him. Keegan Matheson wrote a great article breaking this down. He pointed out that some key players are coming off the books soon. Dalton Varsho is a free agent after 2026. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. also becomes a free agent. George Springer is probably leaving after this season. He's getting older, and while he had a great year last season, you can't expect a 900 OPS from him every year at his age. So the Blue Jays are about to lose two foundational pieces of their outfield in Varsho and Springer. Why not replace them by adding Kyle Tucker right now? It's the same strategy they used in 2021 when they signed Springer. Build around a pillar player who can anchor the lineup for years. And defensively, Tucker is really good. He's not quite at Varsho's level, but he's a strong right fielder who won't hurt you out there. And offensively, it's not even close. Tucker is a significantly better hitter. Last year, he hit for power. He stole 25 bases, and he got on base at an elite clip. That's exactly the type of player the Blue Jays need. A contact-first guy with power who can also run. He fits perfectly into what the Blue Jays want to do offensively. Let me show you what the lineup would look like with Kyle Tucker in it. This is using everyone's 2025 OPS. So obviously things can change, but if everyone performs at the same level and you just swap Kyle Tucker in for a guy like Nathan Lukes, this lineup is absolutely ridiculous. You'd have Tucker hitting second, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. third, George Springer cleanup, and then guys like Bo Bichette, Alejandro Kirk, and Dalton Varsho behind them. That's a World Series caliber lineup right there. Actually, scratch that. That's a God tier lineup. There's no easy out. Every single spot in the order is dangerous. And here's the thing. Tucker thrives in situations where he's not the number one guy. He doesn't need to be the face of the franchise. He just needs to hit and play solid defense. That's perfect for Toronto because Vlad is already the face of this team. Tucker can slot in as the number 2 guy and just do his thing. I think he'd actually take a step up in Toronto with the hitting coaches they have. Look at what they did with other players last year. They maximized talent, and I think Tucker would benefit from that. Now, let's talk about the stolen base aspect for a second because I love this. Tucker stole 25 bases last year. Having that kind of speed in the 2-hole is massive. I know you don't always want to run with big thumpers like Vlad and Springer behind you, but late in games when you need to get a runner into scoring position, having that option is huge. It's another weapon in the arsenal. All right, let's bring this back to reality. What should we expect over the next couple of weeks? The winter meetings are coming up, and I think we're going to see a lot of movement. Kyle Schwarber is probably going to sign first because there are fewer teams involved in his market. The Phillies are likely waiting to see if they can bring Schwarber back before they pivot to Tucker. If Schwarber signs elsewhere, I'd expect the Phillies to go hard after Tucker, but if they get Schwarber back, that's one less team in the mix. As for Tucker himself, I don't think he signs during the winter meetings. There are too many teams involved, and he's going to want to visit all of them before making a decision. We'll probably hear about him flying to New York to meet with the Yankees or heading to Los Angeles to tour Dodger Stadium. That's just how this works. He's about to become generationally wealthy, and he's doing his homework. I'd expect him to have multiple sit-down meetings with 5 or 6 teams, and then he'll make a decision sometime before Christmas. Here's why I'm actually optimistic about the Blue Jays' chances. Look at the other teams in the mix. The Yankees are reportedly trying to spend less money this offseason. The Mets just paid $760 million for Juan Soto. Are they really about to drop another $400 million on another outfielder? That seems unlikely. The Dodgers already have an insane payroll and multiple massive contracts on the books. Another $400 million deal feels absurd even for them. Meanwhile, the Blue Jays have the money, the need, and the motivation. They're coming off a World Series appearance. They're all in right now. This feels like their moment. Every other offseason, it's felt like the big free agent was destined for another team. Juan Soto felt like he was going to the Mets. Shohei Ohtani felt like he was going to the Dodgers. But this year, everyone is saying Blue Jays. The vibes are different. The stars feel like they're aligning. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but why not the Blue Jays? What's stopping them this time? The only thing holding me back from being fully confident is the PTSD from past free agencies. But objectively, everything points to Toronto being the favorite. So yeah, the deal isn't imminent. There are a lot of hoops to jump through. Tucker's going to visit other teams. There will be more negotiations. But this is genuinely exciting. The Blue Jays are in this thing, and they're a serious contender. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is Tucker signing in Toronto? Are we finally getting the big fish? Drop your thoughts below, and let's see where this goes. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Jays go.